What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Not Here to Play School pod. Jake Micah, Alex Micah, back at it here. It is week 8?
Yes.
Week 8? Week 7? I get the weeks mixed up looking at NFL and college all the time. But the fact that we're at week 8, we're over the halfway mark of the college football season, Mo. How does that make you feel?
There's a lot of football left, so I'm good.
There's a lot of football left.
There's a lot of games left.
There's a lot of football. I like that attitude.
It's so good because college football's postseason, if you want to call it that, goes on for like a month with all the different bowl games. So
that is true. Well, we're here. It's a big week in the Big Ten, really as big as anything else. Penn State, Ohio State, the first matchup of the round robin of the top teams in the Big Ten East. The last year of the Big Ten East. Thank God, I think. I think we could agree with that, right?
They were talking about it last week that the last 10 conference championships have been won by either Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State. I think that's what they said.
That's wild.
So
it's been domination from one division. Like the West Side is just
the West Side is
thanks for coming, basically.
Occasionally Iowa, but they're never very good. So
Wisconsin's had a couple years where you thought at the very least that there could be like a battle, I guess. You know what I mean? Like maybe like some kind of competition, but really never has been.
No. But that's the thing. Like a couple years in a row, like not 2 years in a row. It was what 2018 and 2020. They were sending Northwestern out of the West. Like that's how bad the West is. Some years is that Northwestern was winning the division and going up against Ohio State.
Yeah.
So it's
division. That was last year, right? Wasn't it Northwestern last year?
No, Purdue last year.
Oh, Purdue last year.
2020, the COVID year was Northwestern, and 2018 was also.
And it was not a great Purdue team either.
No, it was a 8-4 Purdue team.
Yeah, not ideal. But we've got Penn State, Ohio State this week it's the matchup of the weekend. It's at noon, big noon kickoff.
Big noon kickoff and college game day.
Game day.
It is the premier game.
The game will be on Fox. First, we'll get into that game in a second. First, Michigan at Michigan State. Georgia's idol this week, still the number 1 team in the nation, but number 2, Michigan. Traveling to Michigan State, always tricky, and coming off some sanctions for sign stealing. Don't know what the punishment's going to be, but Michigan stealing signs. Are you surprised that Jim Harbaugh is being a little shady?
No, I mean this whole season started out with his the self-suspension or whatever that the university was giving Harbaugh. Missed the first 3 games of the year for violations in recruiting. And so if this is the season where shit just hits the fan for Michigan because they were doing shady stuff, I wouldn't be surprised at all because the season already started out that way for them.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's just in general, the game, Michigan's going to steamroll them. Michigan State's a really bad football team. If you want to talk about 2 schools right now that are just in that kind of bit of like turmoil, Michigan, is at least number 2 in the country. They're 7-0, but all the stuff that was going on with the NCAA, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, Michigan State fired their head coach before the season even started for, misconduct allegations. So it's just been a mess for Michigan State for sure, and now it's a little bit of a mess for Michigan. Michigan's probably just going to steamroll them, though. They're 24-point favorites.
As I say, Michigan on the field, it hasn't been a mess. They've been dominating regardless. 24-point favorites. Do you think Michigan State can pull off the upset any which way?
No. This team is the last, I don't even know how many years of Michigan State, they've been pretty bad. And it was so reliant on Kenneth Walker a couple years ago is what made them a decent team. That's when they won the Peach Bowl. But then they've completely fallen apart. Mel Tucker wasn't a good coach. They kind of proved it, that he got lucky with a transfer unit and the transfer portal, getting in a stud running back who won the Doak Walker, all this stuff, earned him this $100 million contract, whatever it was, and he blew it. And I think you're seeing what Michigan State actually is right now. I don't think they have the talent to keep up with Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State at all. They don't even really have the talent to keep up with Rutgers, as we saw a couple weeks ago when they lost. They were up by 21 points. I don't think there's any chance. I know it's a rivalry game, and it's in East Lansing, but I would just go with Michigan.
I agree. Just Michigan should handle business. It would be shocking to me if Michigan State's in this game, even despite years past of them making it through. All right, Mo, I'm putting you on the spot now. Then Penn State, Ohio. You wouldn't even write about it, which was I couldn't even believe you. You were just like, no. You've been trying to avoid talking about this game.
I don't
as much as you
want to
can.
talk about it.
Now you have to.
I don't know. What do you want me to say? I'm extremely nervous. I know you're not. I'm extremely nervous for this game. You can, say, oh, it's not the same team for both of them. You could say it's not the same Penn State team. The defense is like much better. The offense under Drew Allaire is different than Sean Clifford. And the same thing about Ohio State. The offense has not looked the same for Ohio State as it has in the past. Without Stroud, last couple of years, or without Fields. McCord. We kind of bash on McCord each week, but then they keep on winning. So I don't know if we really should. But even Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't looked like himself that he did last year. I don't know. It's the line has moved slightly. It was minus.
I can't believe you just said we bash on McCord, but they keep winning. Like that's supposed to impress me about them. That they're.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. We could say, oh, he's a bum every week, but then at the end of the day, they're still winning games.
Okay, the fact of the matter is, though, is he's not to the level of quarterback that they've had over the past couple of years.
No,
and in the years past, when we've discussed this game, I've been the one convincing you that C.J. Stroud is actually pretty good or Justin Fields is actually pretty good. And now Ohio State doesn't have a good quarterback. And you're
knew those guys were good.
Terrified.
I knew those guys were good.
But you're sitting here terrified of Kyle McCord more than you ever were scared of CJ Stroud.
It's not so much more I'm terrified of Kyle McCord. It's more so I'm just scared that it's for the last 6 years that I've gotten my hopes up for these
games. It's not the same team.
You can say that, but until until the ball is snapped at 12-14, because Fox is always late. Until that ball gets snapped at 12-14, I'm not going to be overly optimistic. But anything. The line is the smallest. I mean, I don't know how. This is the first time in a while this line has been in single digits. Last year they were double point. They were double digit underdogs. Same thing about 2 years ago. 2020, I think they were double digit underdogs too. But that's a weird season. 21, I don't know. I mean, they haven't played this team close since 2018, even. At least for the final score.
I'm not asking you to tell me the history of the games. I'm asking you to look at what the two teams have looked like this year, and they have not looked like any of those teams that have dominated Penn State in the last couple of years. And Penn State's looked better than a lot of those teams, especially defensively. They're the best defense in the country.
Yeah, but who have they played? Who have they played?
Who's Ohio State? The same thing.
They went to Notre Dame.
Okay.
That's it right there. That's a much.
They had one drive against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
What you're worried about who Penn State's played? That's going to be your argument?
Yeah.
The Ohio State offense hasn't.
Yeah, the defense can look amazing for points and for yards when you're fucking playing UMass and Delaware. I mean,
Ohio State had 35 points against Youngstown State. Only 35 points.
Yeah. I know the offense hasn't looked the same. It hasn't. And I mean, with the way that Penn State's defense is playing, then it should
be. West Virginia is a 4-2 team in the Big 12.
They are. Yes, West Virginia is much better than people would have thought. And I don't know. I'm sure you didn't see it last week. They should be a 5-1 team. They lost on a Hail Mary.
Iowa's 6-1, and they got shut out by Penn State.
That's true.
That's their lone loss.
Okay.
And I know their offense isn't good, but there's nobody who scored more than 15 points on this team all year long. That's hard to do against anybody.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. They've played a couple people.
Even Georgia has 3 games of letting up 20 points or more.
I mean, I got, we'll see. We'll see.
All I'm trying to say is that I think you're looking at it from Ohio State as just they are Ohio State of every single year, when this Ohio State team escaped against Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's win last week is way more about USC than it is about Notre Dame, I think, and just where they are in the trenches. But I don't think Penn State would have that issue against either of these teams in the trenches. And I think that they have the advantage at quarterback going into this matchup.
We'll have to see. We haven't seen Allaire kind of like unleashed at all.
I don't think he needs to be. I
Well,
don't
no,
think McCord. We've
it's
not seen McCord unleashed either. We've seen Marvin Harrison Jr. unleashed.
yeah.
But the Penn State game plan, I'm sure, is going to be Marvin's not going to beat us. Make somebody else beat us, and I don't think there's anybody that can do it.
Well, I don't know about that because we talked about it earlier this week. Just text each other. It's that tight end Kate Stover, who's super good, and
the thing is, I trust the rest of the defense. Like I don't think McCord. I don't think that any of those guys are going to be able to do enough when it comes down to the way McCord has played all year. I think Harrison would be a game breaker. I don't think anybody else can do it.
If they can get pressure on him, it's gonna be a big thing. If Chop can get to him, if Adisa Isaac can get to him, then that will be huge. Get him off of schedule would be massive. I don't know who's playing running back for them. I know they've been dealing with
it might be Trainham again.
Okay. Well, I knew that he even got hurt last week for a little bit. It was Hayden was the guy who was taking snaps. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see what happens with Harrison because are they just gonna if they just put Kalen King on him, or if they stick to Kalen King?
I think they're gonna take him out of I think they're gonna do everything they can to take him out of the game. I don't think they'll leave him. I don't think they're gonna let him have a chance to destroy their game.
Yeah, make Fleming and Ibuka.
Yes. Make McCord beat you without all
Harrison.
He's been able to in the big games. It's when Harrison's been able to have big games this year. If you look at all their 41 points, Harrison has 8 catches for 150 yards. So if you take him out, their offense is going to struggle.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What did he have in the let me see. What did he have against Notre Dame? It was like 3 catches or whatever.
3 catches for 30 yards. He had 2 catches against Indiana. And there was another game on the schedule where he's had only a couple catches in it. So,
well, I know week 1 against Indiana.
No, I know there was another one too where he had either 3 or 4 catches.
Here, I got it right now. Let's see. 2 catches, 18 yards against Indiana. Notre Dame was 3 catches for 32 yards. He had 5 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown against Western Kentucky. Last week he had 6 for 105 and a touchdown. Against Purdue. Against Maryland, he had 8 for 163 and a touchdown. So, he's had 2 small games. But, a big chunk of 2 of his biggest games were against very bad opponents, for sure.
Yeah.
He had 12 catches for 3 touchdowns and 186 yards against Youngstown State and Western Kentucky. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Kalen King hasn't been tested yet this year against anybody they've played. So, this is massive for him. And it's, massive for his just draft stock too.
I don't think they're going to leave him on an island. I really don't think they're going to take that chance.
I'm just saying that he had supposed to be our first round cornerback hasn't been tested yet this year, and this is a massive test.
Okay.
For anybody, whoever he's covering, to see if they can shut down these receivers.
I'm not saying Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't a test for Kalen King. Sure.
I'm just saying that it's whoever. Whatever. If they take away Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, they didn't. He had 185 yards. It's the most ever in Ohio State against Penn State game.
That was with C.J. Stroud at quarterback, not Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Is I've watched 6 games of Kyle McCord, and I don't think he's going to be able to move the ball. He's going to have some moments, and they're going to have some plays where things break out. I think he's going to have a rough afternoon most of the time, and maybe Drew Allaire will have a rough afternoon too. But that's how I see this game going: is first team to 20 points maybe wins, a 20-14, 24-21. That's the type of game we're looking at here, and I think these offenses are both going to struggle. So I think that kind of game favors Penn State.
I don't know.
That's what it comes down to.
It might. I don't know. It depends how the running backs show up too, though. If Singleton and K-Tron can't get anything going on the ground like they didn't last year against Ohio State, then who knows what's going to happen. I don't know. If this game, if it just turns into they have to live and die by what Drew Allaire can do with the receiving card, which is not amazing. Tight ends are good, and Lambert Smith isn't bad. But if there's no run game at all, I don't know how it's going to go.
I think Ohio State's thinking the same thing with their 4th string running back, though.
Trainham's the 2nd string.
We don't know if he's playing.
Yeah.
We just came down to that. That's what I'm saying. Like there's like Penn State issues. There's issues on the other side of the ball a lot more than there have been in years past.
Yeah.
On both sides. I think Penn State's winning. I thought it all year long.
I don't know. I've watched Ohio State. I've watched obviously every single Penn State game, and I've watched a lot of Ohio State play. And I think it doesn't matter what happened beforehand. It's that once you actually play the game, it's completely different. It's once
I agree, but I still know what the team looks like. I don't think Ohio State has the ceiling they've had over the last couple of years.
We'll see. We'll see. I think that if Ohio State, I saw an Ohio State fan say this earlier this week on Twitter, and it was honestly, it's a valid point. If Ohio State wins, they should be the number one team in the country. They'll have the two most impressive wins of the year.
Sure,
they will.
I don't care about the rankings right now for next week before the games.
I'm just speaking.
You've already decided that Penn State has lost this game.
I haven't said I have not said who's going to win or lose.
What do you think then?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to commit to anything. No, I mean, I told you this before. It's in the same way that I'm like hopelessly optimistic about every Bills game, where I'm like, I don't care who they're playing, they're gonna win. I get all the 100% nervousness for every Penn State game, where I can get into my head like, you know what? What if UMass goes off and Penn State throws a bunch of picks and it's bad? I'm really scared that Drew Miller hasn't thrown a pick yet because I fucking know it's just gonna happen at an awful time in this game. I really wanted him to throw one last week just to get it out of the system.
You don't know that. You don't know that's going to happen. He might playing in front of his family.
Maybe. I don't know. Penn State's going to win by 12.
Sounds very confident.
Yeah, 24-12.
Okay. All right, let's rip through the rest of the top 12 here. Duke at Florida State. What do you think's gonna happen? I think Florida State rolls Duke, honestly.
I don't know if they'll roll him. It depends if Riley Leonard is playing or not. He took a high ankle sprain on the second to last play of the game against Notre Dame. Missed last week. Duke still picked up the win. If he's playing, that game is a lot more interesting because we've seen Florida State struggle in a couple of these games close. They're 14-point favorites tomorrow, but they only beat Boston College by 2 points, and that needed 18 penalties by Boston College, the most in their program history. And then they had to go to overtime against Clemson and won 31-24. But to get to 24, they needed a defensive touchdown. So if Duke is smart with the ball, whoever's playing quarterback, if it's I want to get his name right. I believe it's Henry Blevin.
Yeah.
Belvin. Henry Belvin the fourth.
Belvin, okay.
Or if it's Riley Leonard, they just both need to be smart with the ball. Something that I didn't know about this until going into it, Duke has never beaten Florida State ever since 1992. Since the year that they joined the ACC, Florida State joined the ACC. They have never beaten them. It is 19-0.
I think this is the time.
That's it, exactly. If it's any possibility, it's going to be this year. Duke has been kind of the Cinderella story for this season, kind of the same way TCU was last year. They had the massive win against Clemson to open up the season. They've looked really solid. They didn't beat Notre Dame, but it was a really close game. I think the chance is there. If the way they've been playing is solid enough, they should do it. They also have the 4th ranked defense in the country. They're locking teams down, and Florida State hasn't been amazing. They're not putting up 50 points a game. They're putting up 30 points a game. So the opportunity is there. They need to try to get Jordan Travis to turn the ball over, and he doesn't do that often.
It's true. I think this is the time. I think that you sold me on that stat. Duke's got to break that streak at some point.
At some point.
It has to be done.
Yeah. It's also it's prime time, and Duke has shown up in prime time this year. Their 2 games. They were both at home. Against Clemson was at home, and against against Notre Dame was at home. But they've shown up in prime time this year. And I think that they'll put on it. They'll at least keep it close. I don't think it's going to be 14. They're not going to lose by 14.
All right. Duke covers, but Florida State wins. I think Florida State's on a little bit of a roll.
What will happen. But
Arizona State at Washington. Washington coming off the huge dramatic win after Oregon just misses on the wide right field goal late in that game where they could have tied it up.
Say wide right.
Because that's what.
Just say veered. Veered right.
I don't hold that trauma. I'm okay with to say it. It happened twice in the Bills game too on Sunday night. I thought that was kind of funny. Washington.
I mean,
there's nothing really changed. They did. I think they're exactly what we thought they were last week. They just got the better of Oregon that day. With Oregon won, I think we'd still feel the same about both teams too at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Penix still played like super well. Not as many yards as we'd seen him against some other teams, but still came out and showed out and had 4 touchdowns. ASU played USC really close, but we kind of know what USC is now. That their defense is terrible and playing tougher competition. They played down.
Yeah.
So I mean, 27.5 is a lot of points to cover. And we obviously saw Arizona State can be scrappy and, they're not afraid to, take some chances. So I wouldn't be surprised if they cover, but I would still think that it's a, multiple touchdown win for Washington in this game. And just Penix kind of adding, this is a kind of game where he's the Heisman favorite and now he can just stat pad a little bit.
I agree. I think this is a pretty easy game for them to just walk through, especially at home. But there could be a letdown chance. I mean, Arizona State.
For sure. I mean, at home, I think it's pretty good that it's at home for them. If they were going to if it was a late 10 o'clock at Arizona State kind of game, then that's a possibility of it's a letdown after the big win against Oregon. But
yeah, I think this is a pretty easy walk for Washington. What about UCF and Oklahoma? First and last Big 12 matchup ever.
Yeah. It's Oklahoma. They're not
17.5 point favorites.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, they're not in the same boat as like Texas, who we'll talk about in a minute.
Dylan Gabriel playing his old team, correct?
It is. Dylan Gabriel playing his old team. If this game was at UCF, it'd be interesting to see how that crowd would react to him. I just got to go with Oklahoma. UCF hasn't been bad this year, but their first year in the Big 12, they're 3-3. They definitely could be a lot better. And I think they will be better in the Big 12 in a couple years,
going
honestly.
Forward, I think so too, yeah.
But yeah, I don't even think they're gonna cover. I think Oklahoma's just gonna roll.
Not even gonna cover?
No, I don't think they'll cover.
Damn.
I love UCF. They're the national champions from 2017.
I know.
Gotta give them their props, but
that's messed up.
I think was Dylan Gabriel. He hasn't been in college that long, has he? Was he on that team?
He might have been. I think he's been there since 2017.
Yeah, was he a redshirt freshman?
I think so.
And I'm looking that up quick.
He's old, man.
He is old. He is.
He's like 24, 25 right now.
No, he's 22.
What?
Yeah, he's only 22.
Who am I thinking of?
No, he was at UCF 2019 to 21, and then Oklahoma 22 to present.
Who was I thinking of then?
Mackenzie Milton, maybe.
That is who I'm thinking of.
He's the one who played before him and then got hurt.
Yeah, he was.
Mackenzie Milton.
He's 26.
Yeah, he played last year for Florida State.
Yeah,
a little bit.
He had a 6-year career. Okay, glad we figured that out. But
yeah, Dylan Gabriel, one of the they were talking about. I think last week, 2 weeks ago. There's like 8 Hawaiian quarterbacks in Division I right now.
Okay.
Yeah, he is one of them. So. Shout out Dylan Gabriel for that.
And Talia Tagovailoa.
He is.
I would assume is one of them.
Brother. Is he going to be the backup for the Dolphins next year?
No, the Bills.
For the Bills?
That's what we need. That's how we defeat Tua. We bring his brother in.
We don't need to mental games
again. He's still hanging around. I'm excited for Sunday night. That's for sure. For Tua versus Hurts.
There's a lot of storylines in that. Hopefully the NFL actually
hopefully Hurts doesn't choke again, like he did last week.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
It was tough.
That's
Texas. Let's go to Texas at Houston.
Yeah. They need
another first time Big 12 matchup. Last time Big 12 matchup. Yeah. Houston. It's gonna if Houston. One of the craziest atmospheres we'll ever see at a Houston football game, I imagine, hosting Texas in this game right now.
For sure. Um,
23.5 point favorites. The Longhorns
yeah,
are.
Texas arguably has the best running back in the country in Jonathan Brooks.
It's crazy.
And they need a bounce back win after Oklahoma, obviously.
Yep.
They'll probably just roll through them. Rely on the run game. You know it's dominant. No one has been able to stop him this year. So I mean, have Quinn just pass it when he needs to, but you kind of figure out at this point what you have with your receivers. Xavier Worthy is solid. Not as good. After his freshman year 2 years ago, you think he'd be like amazing, but he's not at that point. He's solid. Donnie Mitchell is solid, and Jatavion Sanders is a first round pick, like arguably. Their receiving core is good, and you have an amazing running back who is only a sophomore. So I mean, Texas knows what they have, and they just got to use their strengths, and they should plow through the rest of the Big 12.
Yeah, they really should cruise the rest of their schedule. They have BYU at home next week. That should be another easy win. They're 23.5 point favorites, like we said. Should be pretty easy pickings for the Longhorns against, I guess, an in-state. It's going to be a nice atmosphere, but I think Texas.
Yeah, I mean, what's the last time Texas and Houston played each other? I'm sure it happened before.
Yeah, look it up. I don't remember.
Who's the all-time great Houston quarterback, Jake? Do you know?
Houston. Case Keenum.
Texas is 16-7-2 all time. They're on a 7 game win streak currently.
What was their last matchup?
I think 2002. 2002, yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
21 years ago.
Dang, I didn't realize it's been that long.
They haven't Houston hasn't won since 1991 in Houston.
Okay. So. All right, 21 years or 31 years later, you never know. 32 years later. 32 years. All right, let's move on. Washington State, Oregon. Oregon, I think they just take out their anger with the state of Washington out on little brother. That's all we can expect.
Probably. I'm kind of surprised on the spread of this game. Washington State is not a bad team.
No, they've been good all year. 20.5 at home is, I don't know. That might be fair. What time is this game at? 2:30, 3:30 start. 5. Yeah, they're only a 4-2 team. They got blown out 44-6 last week to Arizona, though. I mean,
that was they were ranked, and then they had they just got shit on. That was bad,
terrible.
Who's their other loss?
Their other loss was to UCLA.
UCLA,
25-17.
Yeah.
So before last week, they're 4-1 and had lost to another team who had been pretty good all year long. But yeah, last week was not encouraging, and then they roll into Autzen, and I imagine a lot of that has to do with Oregon looking for a win after last week.
It's probably Washington State looking bad against Arizona last week, and then the Oregon coming back for revenge.
Yeah,
against the state of Washington.
Just the whole state.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a closer game than than -20. I think depends on how Oregon's defense is firing out, though. I mean, Cam Ward's Washington State's been playing really well. As he's just that group of a really good Pac-12 quarterbacks this year that have been going on. I think the game will be closer. This is also part of the Northwest Classic, which I didn't know was a thing till last week.
What is that?
So, Northwest Classic is Oregon, Oregon State, Washington. Whichever team beats the other 3 is the Northwest champion.
Okay.
And this is a thing that it's
there. You have to sweep the board, though.
You have to sweep the board, yeah.
Okay.
To get it. And Washington State right now has a win against Oregon State.
Okay. But Oregon's out. They're done. They can't win the North.
Oregon's out. They can't get the sweep. They can ruin Washington State chances, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think Washington gets the Northwest Classic this year.
Probably. Yeah. But it's just, Washington State, they got to win against a ranked Oregon State team. That's Oregon State's only loss this year so far. They're 6-1 with the Washington State.
They are beating each other up this year.
Yeah. They might cannibalize themselves, but maybe no one will get the sweep. And then, the Pac-12 won't have a representative in the playoff.
And there will be no Northwest Classic winners for the rest of time.
No Northwest champions. This has only been a thing since 2002, but still.
Hey, now it's dead. 21 years. See you later. It's all right. They had a good run. How many champions were there?
Go to the next game and I'll pull it
up. The next game is your boys in the top 10. The North Carolina Tar Heels after a big win last week.
And they're prime Drake Mays?
They're basically ready at this point. They just need to keep doing what they're doing, and they will have a win and in playoff game against Florida State if everything goes right. Like that's what we're heading towards, and I think they're good enough to be in that position. They're also 23.5-point favorites this Saturday.
All right, Northwest Championship. So since 2002, when that was first coined, let's see, Washington has done it 5 times. They did it last year. Oregon has done it 10 times. Oregon State has done it twice. Washington State has never done it since
We need a Wazoo win on Saturday then.
To just cause all the mayhem?
No, we need them. They deserve a Northwest Classic championship before the end of this. If they don't, it's pretty sad.
So retroactively, it goes back. Washington has 32 total, dating back to what year was the first year they did this? 1903.
Okay.
Oregon has 16. Oregon State has 12. Washington State only has 6.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right. So UNC rolls.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Drake May is just gonna tear it up. Like I said, he's not the Heisman favorite that people thought he was gonna be. But he's still really, really good. Also,
he might be the number 1 overall pick favorite by the end of the year at this point.
He might be.
He might pass Caleb. He has passed Caleb for some people, but
I think honestly though, like even with Caleb's like really bad performance that he had against Notre Dame, he still just like is so much more of the pro-ready quarterback in my eyes. Drake May still looks really raw to me. But yeah. I mean, that's what people said about Anthony Richardson. And before he, hurt his shoulder, he was arguably the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
In the NFL. So
I think like Caleb's gonna make more shit happen just because he's more athletic. May is not as athletic. He's a bigger guy, but
yeah.
All right. Convince me that Tennessee can go to Bama on the 3rd Saturday in October and take out the Crimson Tide. Joe Milton is better than
Jalen Milroe?
Than Jalen Milroe. 2 JMs. I had to make sure. They're kind of this. They have the similar name, and they're kind of like the same quarterback too. They both are guys that I would much rather have running an option offense than I would have throwing the ball. Joe Milton, I never liked Joe Milton throwing the ball at Michigan, and then when he showed up to Tennessee, I kind of had to be like, all right, well maybe because Heupel can figure it out, and Milroe has never looked impressive throwing the ball. I don't think any point this year, and even though this is. They've kind of gotten back to what they used to be, as they've been more of a ball control team. They're running the ball, playing good defense. Bama is. They're 8.5-point favorites against Tennessee. Tennessee last week playing A&M, 20-13 win. They kind of just snuck that one out, but it was a good defensive effort. Milton, they didn't ask him to do a lot. They ran the shit out of the ball. He was only 11 of 22 last week. Bama last week had a tough game at home against Arkansas, and before that had a tough game against A&M too. So these teams, at least playing the similar teams in A&M, kind of close, it's similar type games. I feel like this is going to be a really good game, but I don't think the offenses are going to do anything. It's going to be like 20. It's like 20-17 type of energy out of this one.
Probably it's going to be really, really defensive. I bet either the way the game will either go is that both defenses are gonna be too hyped up, so it'll be touchdown to start, and then it's gonna be punt back and forth for most of the first half after that, I would think. Or it's just gonna be a defensive slog until later in the second quarter when somehow they both get a broken play and get in there. Like you're saying, they rely on Alabama doing more on the run. Jason McKellen is kind of stepping up. He's been pretty solid the last few weeks. I don't know, 3rd Saturday in October, man. You're the Tennessee Vols fan. What you're saying 2017 for Tennessee, they're winning?
No, I don't think they can win this.
No? What's the last time they won in Tuscaloosa? Do you know?
No. 2003.
It is 2003.
Is it really?
Yeah, 20 years ago was the last time.
Hilarious. Well, maybe today's the day then. 2000.
Maybe.
You know what? I think they will win. This Bama team, if they're going to do it, it's this year. This Bama team has not been impressive, and I think Tennessee has been – honestly, they've been better than I thought. They going into this Bama game, so.
Yeah. That game, by the way, was 51-43 in 5 overtimes.
Wow. If we get that we could get that.
Fun.
We could get that. I wouldn't be
Oh, it's
shocked.
possible.
That's crazy.
Are we gonna get like the first overtime is like 17-17 or something though? And they're gonna score
Yeah,
touchdowns.
and they just score one
It's gonna
another.
be low scoring into overtime.
I am very excited. Like, this is an ultimate Saturday for me to have Penn State, Ohio State at noon, and then I can just decompress with this Tennessee, Bama, and just because I'm gonna the atmosphere for third Saturday, and it is one of like it's a very underrated rivalry. This one specifically, these two teams do not like each other.
For so long.
And Tennessee doesn't really like it's not their number one thing you think of either. You think of Florida more often and they're in the SEC East and everything, and it's in the middle of the season and everything else. But these two teams have played I don't remember. They've played each other every year for quite a long time now in this third Saturday in October.
Let's see. I'm looking at the list right now. I mean, at least
they're only 310 miles apart.
They played each other every year since 1928.
Wow. Yeah, it says the game was tradition. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
1928. Bama leads the series 58-39-7, 105 total meetings.
They also though have a vacated win in 2005.
They went on a 15-game win streak from 2007 to 2021.
Yeah, till last year.
It's tough. The first game was in I'm just going to the Wikipedia page at this point. The first game was 1901, a 6-6 tie in Birmingham. Then Bama dominated for 10 years.
Birmingham, not even in Tuscaloosa.
Birmingham. But beginning in 1928, the rivalry was scheduled on its traditional date. Robert Neyland, the namesake of the stadium, began challenging Alabama for their perennial spot, and it was officially given the name third Saturday in October in 1939, when Robert Neyland and Bear Bryant started making the rivalry after that famous. Robert Neyland, who would have thought? That's how far it goes. But yeah, huge game. And it's a big game in general for both these teams. The SEC West, LSU is right on Bama's heels still right now, and Ole Miss, even though they have the game off of them. But Bama needs to keep winning for their national title hopes, for their SEC title hopes. And same thing with Tennessee. Like Tennessee, we talked about, if they can get this game, they have Georgia at home the second to last week of the regular season. And that could be a game for a spot in the SEC title game and for the playoff if Tennessee keeps it clean until then. So this is a huge game.
It is
both in the SEC and the national thing. I think Tennessee wins. I think now that we've talked about the 20 years and everything, it is going to be the overtime 44-38 Tennessee win, but it's going to be 17-17. Go. No, it can't do that. We only get
two overtimes. So you need like 24-24 because you can score touchdowns in two overtimes.
So it's going to be 23-23, and then they're going to they're both going to go for two both times. So it'll be 39-39, and then it ends up 45-43 Tennessee. That's the final score.
All right.
Let's finish off here. Utah at USC. We saw USC lose last week going to Notre Dame, and they got bullied 48-20. Caleb Williams had his worst game as a USC Trojan. And this week, they get to come back home and face a team that has bullied them for the last couple of years, the Utah Utes.
Yeah.
I think they get smacked around again. I think this is a tough couple of weeks for the Trojans. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Utah's defense is really good. And they've kind of just proven all year long that they can hang with anybody. Whether it be like a low scoring like rock fight, or if they need to put up points, they can do it. It's unless the only chance I think is if we see like a different animal out of Caleb Williams. If he's like, Jake, fuck you saying I'm not gonna be the first overall pick. I'll show you what I can do. And he's gonna go off for 450 total yards and 5 total touchdowns, which is always possible. Both these games that they played against Utah last year were super close. And this is the one at home. Last year they were at Utah, that night game, and they came up short. So I mean it's highly possible that USC can just because it's at home. I know they don't get like a crazy amount of fans, but because it's at home. They'll power through and they'll bounce back. But even if they bounce back, their Pac-12 title shots are done, realistically, and their playoff shots are definitely done.
Yeah, I don't see them. I just don't see them. I think that they're an 8-4 team now at this point because I can't see that. I think they're going to get manhandled by all these teams, and I think Utah will continue the trend this week. But we'll see at home. Maybe at home makes a difference. And one of these times they're going to have to beat Utah. Lincoln Riley's going to have to get over on Kyle Whittingham. Yeah. So if he doesn't do it with Caleb Williams, who knows? Yeah. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Utah too. Well, that'll do it.
Yeah. Mo, one thing I want to get in quick before we go. You know, Tennessee, Bama, what's the big thing after a game? What does the victor have?
Oh, I don't know.
Cigars. You don't know this?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, no. That's the big thing. After Tennessee, Bama, it's who smokes the cigars. It started in the 50s, and it's technically a violation, but they've always violated it, and then they self-report it after every game.
Nice.
And Greg McElroy told a cool story about one time for Bama. They were up big, and he didn't think he was going to have to come back in the game because the defense was out there. There's like 10 seconds left or 20 seconds left, something like that. So he was
lit up a cigar?
He had a cigar on him. He was getting ready. And he was getting lighters from the stands to light him up on the field. And they got a turnover. So he had to go kneel the ball down. And he had lighters in his pants, he said.
That's hilarious.
So,
well, Joe Milton's going to be lighting up cigars at Tuscaloosa tomorrow. Yeah. That's what's happening. No, I didn't know that. That's great, though. By this time tomorrow, Penn State will be the #1 team in the country. That's what's going to happen. How about that?
The rankings don't come out then, but sure. Yeah.
That's if you said if Ohio,
they jump to 1 if they beat Ohio State.
They should jump to 2.
They should jump
to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
They would jump Michigan. I think you have to.
Probably because Michigan doesn't have a win either.
Especially because I think Michigan wins. I think it's close on Saturday night though. I think Michigan's close.
We'll see.
All right. We'll leave with
the great Cardell Jones.
Yeah, we have to.
When's he getting on the pod?
Soon.
Soon.
I hope he's leading the Bills. I hope he's leading the Bills charge next Thursday.
Is he? He's probably in Columbus tomorrow, I would think, right?
Maybe is he? Who's the guest picker tomorrow? Do you know?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me look that up quick. Fields, because he can't play.
That's tough. I don't think that'd be a good look. He's supporting Tyson Bagent. Oh, it's Stroud, though.
Is it Stroud?
Yep.
Oh, they're on a bye?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
All right, that'll do it. Enjoy the game tomorrow, folks.